This computer. Okay. It should. Okay. Yep. I see it. All right. So, here we go. Um, so we were talking about, audio. Well, chapter 8 and 9 are both about audio, and like different tools that you use to pick up the audio, basically microphones and a few little techniques for uh picking up audio, well, for recording audio. So, first things first, there's a thing called transduction or transduce. That's basically the process of converting sound waves into electrical energy. It's basically the difference between, one way I explain it is that it's the difference between talking into a microphone versus talking into a I don't know, just a dry erase, a dry erase marker. Like, the thing is that it has that element that can, take those vibrations and convert them into an electrical signal that can be, transmitted and reproduced and understood by somebody who wasn't even in the room at the time that it was recorded. So, um, kind of like with the camera stuff, when we talk about the parts of the camera, like the chips, basically take that raw light and is able to like get, break it down into, elements of colors and be able to reproduce it on the TV or somewhere else. So, yeah, microphones have to be able to do that. If not, you're just talking into, some just a, I don't know, weird little piece of object that doesn't, relay those sound waves. Yeah, they have different ways of generating sound. We'll talk about that in just a second. And also they have different pickup patterns. So not all microphones pick up sound from the same direction. So talking about some of the microphones we have, dynamic microphones. This is kind of like the typical microphone, the stick mic that you probably see like maybe reporters on the news holding, or maybe yeah, maybe some type of MC for an event may use this type of microphone, or maybe a comedian may use that type of microphone. So it can tolerate rough handling because yeah, like reporters aren't like, they just throw it in that type of microphone, they just throw it in a bag. They don't lock it up in some type of special, you know, gray and black padded case or anything. It just gets thrown into a bag with, other equipment. Um, Also, I was gonna say, what other ways that it gets handled roughly? Uh, Dropping the microphone, yeah, that has to be a dynamic microphone because, a condenser microphone, you may break it doing something like that. I know sometimes comedians, sometimes they like may handle, do all kinds of weird stuff with the microphone, like wave it around or pat it or hit the microphone. Yeah, that's what makes me think it's a dynamic microphone because yeah, yeah, you wouldn't do it with the other type of microphones that we're going to talk about. The condenser mic, oh sorry, oh, not finished. Also how high sound levels without being damaged. What I mean by that is that I don't know if you've ever played speakers too loud to the point where they get distorted a little bit. And if you keep on doing that, whether it's speakers or headphones, eventually it goes out, or at least, or it sounds kind of raggedy all the time. Maybe, I don't even know if kids do this anymore, but when I was younger, um, people, put a lot of money into their car stereo systems. And you could tell somebody who like kind of blasts their music way too much, because then the speakers may start sounding raggedy. Um, yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah.
That was a good
Uh,
example. I know what you're trying to say.
okay. So condenser microphones look similar to dynamic microphones, but they just give like a better sound, can transmit a little bit further. Trying to think what else. Oh yeah, and they're more sensitive. So with condenser microphones, they basically both look like, pretty similar. Can you see my mouse when I move it around on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. So they both basically look the same. Okay, so you can't just like look and, but sensitive to physical shock, like dropping, sensitive to temperature, so you're not going to be out in the elements, hot 100-degree days, or icy temperatures. This is probably going to be one that you keep inside. um Also, sensitive to input overload. That's yeah, like if you playing the volume too loud, or maybe if somebody's like, I don't know, yelling into a microphone, it's yeah, it's just, you're gonna mess up that microphone by doing that. So it can produce a higher quality sound from a distance, because it has a either preamp or some kind of power source. So what I mean by power source, like this, I'm guessing that's an Energizer battery in there. So the reason why it's able to do a higher quality sound from a distance is because when a microphone is basically produces a sound and sends it, the longer it has to go to send that sound, like if it has to go, say, 200 feet, that sound is not going to be as loud as if you just had to send it, say, 20 feet. So if you send that microphone, that sound signal is going to be stronger for 20 feet, because it didn't have to travel as far. Going to 200 feet, it's either not going to be as loud, or may have some kind of distortion to it. So, but with preamp, or power source, it basically allows more the signal to be stronger coming out the gate, so therefore it can go further, and make it to whatever, how far away whatever is, and still sound good. So with, say, dynamic microphones, they may be using what we call phantom power. So what that is kind of like your headphones. I'm talking about wired headphones. So you have a pair of wired headphones, or have you ever
Yeah,
had a pair of wired headphones?
yeah. And we
Okay.
talking about the condenser mics, right?
Yeah, well, I'm about to go over yeah, we're still in condenser mics, but I'm gonna go over phantom power versus like actually having a power source.
Okay.
So with phantom power, like say for those headphones that you have, you didn't have to put a battery in those headphones, most likely. You just plugged them in, and the music from your phone or from whatever, it worked. Okay. So that's phantom power, when you plug something in and the main device is what powers it. So microphones work, there's some microphones that work the same way, where you just plug it in, and I think I have one close by, but basically you just plug it in, and whether it's the camera may be powering the microphone, or maybe something else. So yeah, that's called phantom power. Let's see what else. So that's kind of like the opposite of having your own preamp, or your own, power supply, that, within the microphone, that pushes that signal. So um what else? Oh, well, just on a side note, one of the reasons, like if you're outdoors and somebody's like if people are using microphones outdoors and it starts to rain, the reason why people stop is because if that device that microphone is plugged into, if it gets wet, or sends some type of electrical current, you're not getting the current from, say, the microphone. The microphone itself, at most, may have like an energizer battery, or a 9-volt battery, or something like that. But that big old stereo system that's pulling all these watts and whatnot, that's what's sending that. That's what can be sending that, that current through the XLR cable to the microphone to you, and can kill you. So that's the reason why a lot of times, if there's some type of outdoor event and people are using wired microphones, like, you got to stop, because you don't want anybody to get electrocuted. That part isn't going to be on your test, but it does have to do with power being relayed through those audio cables. Ribbon microphones. I think of these as, like, I like to call them like the doo-wop microphones. Like when you think of, like, I don't know, you ever hear of the Temptations, or some Motown group? You ever hear any of
Yeah.
it? Okay. So yeah, it's usually like a bunch of guys, all standing around a microphone, getting their little dance moves, and then coming back and singing their parts. That that's what the ribbon microphone, what I like to think about. Excuse me.
Oh, okay. So
Oh. Mhm.
it's like, so is the ribbon mic? Is it like the same? Oh wait, like what type of microphone though? I know the Temptations. I know who you talk about, but like, what does it look like?
Oh, if you this one right here is a ribbon microphone. You see where I'm like doing a little. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah,
The one at the lower right. So yeah, that's a ribbon microphone. In the old days, like pretty much so many microphones were ribbon microphones. I think of also like the this is not a good use of a ribbon microphone, but old announcers have the microphone that come down from the ceiling and they do announce the boxing match or whatever. But anyway, yeah, this is the type of thing that you definitely want to use for music. So it is similar, it is sensitive like the condenser mics, but it also produces a warmer sound. So when I say a warmer sound, imagine if say you're listening to somebody, um, well, well, yeah, I would say if you're listening to somebody over the telephone, okay? If you're listening to somebody over the telephone, and even if you put your phone on like speaker phone, okay, it doesn't sound as warm as if say you're just listening to that person's voice like they're in the room with you. It sounds kind of shrill, kind of like the highs, if you raise up the volume too much, like the high part of the audio, kind of like hurts your ear. So do you understand what I'm saying about that?
yeah, yeah. I see
Okay,
what you're
so
saying.
like like with audio, there's like the highs, the mids, and like the bass. So yeah, it kind of has a lot of highs to it. Or if you ever gotten any free headphones like on an airplane or some type of tour bus or something, like those little cheap little Nintendo
Yeah,
Game
like the
Boy
little Dollar
headphones.
Tree headphones.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I got some good headphones from Dollar Tree, but like just the regular like basic like yeah, you usually get them like you may get them for free for something. But anyway,
Yeah,
let's yeah, but anyway, those headphones that they definitely have they're not as good as say the over the ear headphones, you have a pair of over the ear headphones.
yeah, like Beats.
Yeah, and you gotta be Beats. You can find some good Dollar Tree over the ear headphones, but yeah, let's just say yeah, some kind of over the ear headphones versus some kind of like not even the ones that you put in your ear that have like the little rubbery taps, but the ones that are just hard plastic. You know what I'm talking about? Like don't conform to your ear at all. You know those those headphones?
Yeah,
Yeah, those like compare the sound between those, like those that have like no, almost no warmth, no bass, just they're only good for like listening to a phone call or I don't know, podcast or something, but you don't want to hear music on that. That'd make me mad trying to listen to music on some, bad headphones. But anyway, so the ribbon microphones, they help produce that warmer sound. Definitely used by singers. You're only going to use this for indoor. This isn't like the type of microphone that you just take everywhere. It probably just stays locked up in the studio. So, um, yeah, or a sound booth. So, anyway, I'm gonna move on to how microphones pick up sound. So, there's a thing called a pickup pattern and a polar pattern. They're both basically the same thing, except that with the it's just different on how they're represented. So the image that you see here, the one in blue and the one in kind of white, they both represent the same pickup pattern. But one is the polar pattern is more two-dimensional. The pickup pattern is three-dimensional. So I'm sorry. Did I get those backwards? Polar pattern 2D, pickup pattern 3D. Did I say that? Yeah, I'm saying it right. So anyway, um, where was I? Oh, so what's the point? Oh, so what these represent is when you buy, say if you buy a microphone, probably in the instruction manual, they'll have something like this. Okay. People tend to say pickup pattern, and I'm in the habit of saying pickup pattern just because I don't know, I guess it rolls off the tongue easier or something. but they could be talking about either one of these. But most people, I like this better. I think this is a little too confusing, and people, people tend to get confused. Other people can get confused by that. So, um, yeah, I'll say that. Say this what we're looking at right now. Do I have another picture of the omnidirectional? I do. Um, well, I'll get back to the cardioid pickup pattern right after this. So, um, the pickup patterns. One is omnidirectional. So to describe what this is like, say the microphone is in the center of a sphere, okay, and basically it can pick up from every side. So and with pickup patterns or polar patterns, whichever one term you care to use, what it is describing is okay. This microphone picks up better, say in this direction. So if something is over here, doesn't mean that it won't be heard, but it won't be heard nearly as well as whatever is in the pickup pattern. So, yes, but omnidirectional microphones like this pick up the audio well from every single angle. So if I'm holding a microphone out like this, not only is it hearing, the person that I'm talking to, hearing them well, but it's also hearing me, just as well. So now with some unidirectional mics, they hear better in one direction. So that means it may pick up better in this direction than say that direction. So one of the most popular unidirectional mics is called a cardioid mic. They call it cardioid. I don't know who came up with cardioid. They say it looks like a heart. This don't look like a heart to me. This looks like a bean or like an afro on a microphone. So but if you want to use your imagination or whatever, you could probably do like, do a little heart symbol, like the youngsters do. And then like maybe flip it upside down. And it kind of, I'm trying to do this for the mic for the camera, but it ain't really working how I want it to. But anyway, I'd say that's the closest to imagining the cardioid pickup pattern. Where was I? So yeah, and that was the same picture that I had on the last slide. So this is still cardioid, and I just want to explain this to you. So this picks up better. So like if I'm holding the microphone, hold on, where? Excuse me. I think I have it right here. May have used it. Yeah, I did use it on the ship the other day. All right. Well, I don't have it in hand right now, but where was I? Oh, so if this is my microphone and I'm holding it out here, and this is me, talking to somebody, it picks up well, in front, but like more towards the back, it doesn't pick up so well. So it does to the front, maybe a little to the side, but to the back, it's not very good. So, um, and I'll say that that's kind of helpful for reporters because if reporters using a cardioid microphone, because some students who don't know any better, I've seen this tons of times with my TV practicum class where we do news packages. They want to put the hand the microphone to them, pointing at themselves when they're asking the questions and then doing all that, which is wrong, because no one's gonna you're most likely 99 times out of 100 not going to be leaving that audio in. But also if you're just listening to somebody, you're making eye contact with them, and you're like trying to give them visual feedback and saying, okay, yes, I hear you, that kind of stuff. If you have a cardioid microphone, then you don't have to be as self-conscious about it because it doesn't pick you up as well as it's picking up the other person anyway. So if you got, because I've heard sometimes when people are like, students are like a little bit, how can I put it, too enthusiastic with their interview. So like, yeah, I hear you, and they're doing it at like full volume, and you can like hear that during the person's sound bite of responding to a question. So cardio pattern, yeah, I'd say it can be helpful for that. Let's see. Next up, my favorite type of microphone pickup pattern is the hypercardioid. So what that means is you've heard of like a shotgun mic or a boom mic. That belongs to this family of hypercardioid mics. So they have a much narrower pickup pattern. So cardioid may do a little bit to the left or to the right. Hypercardioid is, primarily straight ahead. So, excuse me. This is very good for tuning out stuff to the left and to the right. Like example in my life when I needed I did a shoot at a banquet. And I had two microphones and I mean two cameras, and one of them was supposed to have, a podium mic, wireless mic that was at the podium, and another one was just in the back. And the other one that was just like near the back, it was just a regular internal microphone. And for some reason the batteries in my wireless died, and I just had to go with that other sound. And I hated it because like since I was at a banquet and it was at the back, I could hear like the table next to me, or the people who are at the back of the room. I could hear them, just as well scraping their plates and all that kind of stuff. So I would hear them as strong as I would hear the people at the podium. So it just irritated me. It's like, man, I gotta get a shotgun mic, and I did. That was like one of the very first things I purchased after doing that shoot, and yeah, it works really well. Matter of fact, one time, sometimes I don't do it too often, but I may do an interview and use my shotgun mic, and I've had people who are say maybe I don't know 6 feet away from me, and I've got the mic pointed at them. Well, no, they were doing a voiceover for me. Anyway, but I could hear them so well. I could hear like when they swallow, and it's not like they're like it wasn't anything like that. It wasn't any cartoon swallowing. It was just regular, I don't know, talking a lot, and I don't know, swallowing or whatever. And I could hear that through the microphone. So I was like, man, this is really targeted. I got to make sure I point, you know, good thing I'm not pointing at their heart. I might be able to hear their heartbeat. But anyway, it's really good for focused listening, which is probably one of the reasons why you see those at on the sidelines of a football game, so that you can hear the clash of the shoulder pads. And you can hear it like as if you were on the sideline or something, so you can hear that at home. But yeah, it's a very good microphone. Also, it's good for when you want to hear people, like say in TV shows, they use boom mics all the time. Because you don't want to have some type of microphone clipped onto a person's clothing, because that kind of like ruins the uh the fantasy of being absorbed into whatever the show is. So you can still get good sound, but you just have it pointed over the person and it's pointing down and picking up their audio that way. And what's past the person? Just the ground. So as long as the ground isn't humming, then you got a good sound. So anyway, let me show you some of some mics. Well, microphone features. And yeah, where's my, hold on, do I not have a single picture? Okay, I thought I had more another picture of a boom mic, but anyway, um, so some features of microphones is the pop filter and the windscreen. Both of these basically do the same thing. So pop filter is more for when uh it's more for voices. So say if you have this type of microphone, right? And when people make plosive sounds are like P, B, T, K, things where you have to like where air explodes out of your mouth, like probably, or today, or keep the change, where like you know so those type of things, when you say those, and you're maybe if you're too close to the microphone, it almost sounds like you're hitting the microphone. So with air, so you hear like a slight like bump against the microphone. What a pop filter does is kind of like breaks up all that, the air, so therefore you don't it doesn't create that sound. So yeah, I don't have that with me. But what was I gonna say? Oh, so like even in this picture right here of the microphone at the top, yeah, it's got the little wire screen around it, but underneath it, it's got like that style, like a thin layer of like styrofoam, or like a foamy material. Um, so that's what's underneath there. And even so, sometimes you can put like an additional a pop filter on top of it, like the ones that we have at the TV station, those stick mics. Windscreen is basically the same thing, but the purpose of this is for adjusting to wind noise. So I'm sure you've probably seen some type of maybe seen those reporters who were out in the some type of hurricane or um and it's like, oh, we got 65 miles per hour winds or 90 mile per hour winds, and you hear all this rustling, right? That rustling that you hear, that's the wind hitting the microphone. So, and at that point, the wind is just way too much. It's bypassing, it's overcoming the whatever windscreen or cattail that you have on the microphone. But sometimes you can just be out in just regular, regular weather. So even say, I don't know, 9 to 12 mile per hour winds may not seem like much to you, but if you have a microphone that does not have any type of pop filter, windscreen, whatever on it, then yeah, you end up hearing that rustling. I've done that before because my lavalier mics don't have any pop filter or windscreen, or if they do, it's just like very, very thin. So I've had to compensate. So one tip I would have is if you get stuck in that situation where it's just like regular wind, and you have something that doesn't have a windscreen, well, in my instance, I was using lavalier mics, like a lapel mic, something like this, where you like clip it onto your shirt. So what I did was if the person had like an undershirt, I would have them clip it onto their undershirt, and their above shirt would kind of act a little bit like the windscreen, or so that way it would reduce the noise. Or if you can have them put their back, if you can adjust it to where their back is to the wind, so the wind is like hitting their back instead of hitting their front, then that's also a helpful way of dealing with it. But anyway, yeah, so this is windscreen. This is what's known as a cattail, because it's supposed to it resembles like a fluffy tail of a cat. So but yeah, they reduce windows. They all basically do the same thing. So whether it's plosive sound from a voice or wind, it basically creates, reduces that hitting the microphone type of effect that wind can have. uh Another microphone, the lavalier. And I think, yeah, I think this is where left off last on Wednesday. So I'm gonna stop after this slide. So keep everybody kind of at the same pace. So the lavalier mic, also known as lav, also known as a lapel mic. Yeah, it clips onto the clothing. So the reason why they call it a lapel mic is because, say, with a suit jacket, it's a little flap. That's called the lapel. So and you usually clip it onto there. So it's called a lapel mic. But yeah, you can clip it on the shirts, clip it on the ties. Um, yeah. Usually most talk shows, people who are guests on talk shows where they sit down at a couch or whatever, they're usually wearing a lavalier mic. Yeah. Joshua, are you still with me?
Yeah, I actually have a previous experience working with lavalier mics. I worked with
Oh yeah.
lavalier mics this summer.
Yeah, I forgot. I was in auto mode. But anyway, um, yeah, what was I? Yeah, small. They don't take up too much space. Uh, Either omnidirectional or cardioid, so that's nice. Especially because you're talking over the mic with these. So if you have to talk like directly into the microphone, how's that gonna work? That don't work. So the fact that it has like a pickup pattern where it picks up like in this direction, so you can be talking, your voice can go over the top of the microphone and still be heard. So that's a good thing. Sometimes I've tried to it's no fun trying to pick up two people with one mic, but if you have an omnidirectional, at least it's a little bit better than so you can kind of pick up the other person, but I would not recommend it. So I've done weddings before where I've had the honestly, it's better to give a stick mic to the pastor and have him just do this than say mic up, say, the bride or the groom well, you can't mic up the bride, but miking up the groom, and then just you hear the groom very well. You maybe hear the pastor maybe a little less so, and then the bride you don't hear as well, so I end up having to mess around with the audio and boosting it up, for people to try to make everything seem all even. It's not fun. So anyway, lavalier mics, they're designed for voices. You don't want to, like, I don't know, put it next to a drum kit and be like, okay, this will be my drum mic or anything like that. Nah, nah. So also where you place it is important. So the two main things about placing the lavalier is, you don't want it, you want it about between about wherever, like, the top button of the shirt, or like kind of like beneath, say, the top button of a shirt, and like about right, let's see, between about maybe about here and maybe here at the lowest. So this about, yeah, about there. They say about 5 to 8 inches. I guess that's about right. And also on top of clothing. So if I'm wearing, say, a jacket over this, then I want to clip it onto that jacket. I don't imagine me having a jacket. Then I want to clip it on top of that jacket. I don't want to clip it on the shirt that's underneath the jacket. And also, if you have like a whole bunch of other layers and whatnot, maybe a scarf, or maybe some type of chain. Well, yeah, anything that rattles or make noise, you don't want that anyway. But that scarf, you might want to lose that scarf, or if you so committed to the scarf, then clip it onto the scarf or whatever's on the uppermost, if you can, uppermost layer if you can. So anyway, that is going to be it as far as for today. There's plenty of other stuff to talk about with microphones and all that kind of stuff, and advantages and disadvantages of different types of mics. But yeah, that's it. And I will, yeah, I'll probably make the well, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording, but I'm still gonna say something else. Where's that recording button? Uh okay, so I'm
Are
gonna
we coming to class? Where's that?